Welcome back, everyone, to the Main Podcast. This is episode 8. And on this episode, I'm super excited to have Kunal here with me. Kunal is a residential wealth management and investment consultant expert. Kunal, it's great to have you on.
Andrew, thank you. I don't know if I'd call myself an expert, but I appreciate being on here, and I love that we connected after 8 months being at
Yeah,
VidCon.
yeah. Well, you're the expert on this call at least, more expert than I am. But I mean, yeah, why don't you just give the audience a quick rundown, like who you are, your background, kind of like your career journey to like where you are today.
Yeah. What's up, guys? I'm Kunal. I grew up in Maryland. I went to Indiana University for college. I studied finance and business law. Got involved with some clubs in there, my student government and capital markets workshop. And then I graduated in 2020, right into the pandemic. I had a full-time job lined up for my previous internship. And I started my career in August of 2020, moved to Philadelphia. I started in wealth management, a rotational program through my bank, and then I rotated to investment consulting, where I currently work now.
Yeah. So what is investment consulting exactly?
Yeah, good question. It's difficult to explain to people, but essentially, equity research deals with stocks and research on like Apple, Tesla, Microsoft. While with investment consulting, we deal with more with like mutual funds and portfolios. So it's like portfolio management, and it's like we're like the liaison between the high net worth clients and then the mutual fund managers. So an example of a mutual fund manager would be like BlackRock or Fidelity. And an example of high net worth clients would just be like really rich people.
Gotcha. So like it's still basically under the private wealth management arm, but then it's more on the analysis side rather than the client facing side, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. Yeah, it's investment research, so it's more on the analytical side. But the client facing side is different. So back when I was in purely like wealth management on the advisor side, our clients were the high net worth individuals. But now in the research side, our clients are technically the mutual fund managers. So the managers will come to our building and they'll take us out for happy hours and we'll discuss with them. But we discuss like performance numbers with them. So it's an interesting organization how that works.
So was it like a natural transition to go from private wealth management into investment consulting? Is that like the next step, or do you have to like make that pivot into it?
Yeah, actually, no, it was not the next step. And I had to make a pretty big pivot actually from private wealth into investment consulting. So how it's structured, it's a 3-year development program. And I knew it was going to be a rotational program going into it. So the first 2 years were dedicated to private wealth. So rotated through the investments team, the banking team, the fiduciary team, and the sales team. And this was all focused on the high net worth clients and providing services to them. Then I realized that didn't align with my long-term career goals or objectives, and I wanted more of an analytical and technical job. So I within my company, I networked. It's a big bank, so I was able to network my way into this current group I'm at. And I think June of last year, actually, the week before I came out to LA, I transitioned to investment consulting, and now it's much more analytical, research based, which I do like. And so it's not the natural progression.
Gotcha. What are kind of like, I guess, like skills that, I mean, that's such a broad general term. Like, I don't know, are there any technical skills you need for like the investment consulting job, or is it like you need to understand like the broad? Are you doing financial modeling? Are you like analyzing metrics? Like, what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, good question. So it's not the typical. You don't need to know like technicals like DCF, LBO. You don't need to know that stuff.
Fun stuff.
You do not. Yeah, I know. You do not need the series exams. So essentially, it's more so like using like Morningstar, using FactSet, Bloomberg. People probably know Bloomberg, and it's a lot of research on stocks and mutual funds, public. I'm on the domestic equities team, so I deal more with equities, but then also like fixed income. There's privates as well, like alternative investments. So it's more so using those software systems. In terms of like certifications, a lot of people on my team have the CFA. yeah, CFA is pretty common. You don't, it's not a requirement, but it is common to pursue that. So especially as a younger, more junior employee, it gives you more like clout
Yeah.
essentially, and people treat you with more respect if they see like, oh, you CFA. But it's a 3 year long process. I honestly not going through it right now either. But
So
yeah,
so what are some of the most common I guess routes that people will take to break into investment consulting, both from like college and also
yeah,
like so you broke in postgraduate from wealth management.
yep.
What if someone's in college today? How I guess both college and postgraduate. How can you get into it?
Yeah, good question. In college, get involved with your endowment. There are a lot of schools, especially public universities, have endowment funds, and these endowment funds are starting to have student-run teams. Like for instance, like I think Yale or Harvard has the largest endowment of like 2 million, and students run the
Yeah.
endowment. But it's like obviously like a faculty member like oversees this, so it really helps because you get exposure to like the different sectors like domestic equity, international equity. Taxable fixed income, municipal fixed income, like all these different sectors, which otherwise, like in your course material in college, you would have no exposure to. Like I had no exposure to this
Mm.
stuff. I was like actually on the investment banking track, and I talked to you about that. Like I was doing like the DCS and all the financial modeling, but yeah, this job is not financial modeling. It's more so analysis. So you have the numbers in front of you. You in like Bloomberg and FactSet, you run analysis, and it's more so like trying to understand not just performance, but like philosophy, process, how these managers, like these really like, wealthy and experienced portfolio managers, how they think about the world and about the markets and their own
Yeah.
funds.
Do you get to personally like check out clients yourself to like fancy dinners and baseball games?
Okay, so now currently in my current role, they take us out, but usually it's not so much in terms of like baseball
Yeah.
games, but it's usually like happy hours. Like they'll be like, all right, we're coming to Philly, and then we'll have a meeting with them in our office, and then after the meeting, it's like all of them love to drink, right? So it's like they'll host a happy hour, and then we'll like talk to them, and some other managers are over there. So like that's my current role in the investment
Yeah.
consulting side. But when I was on private wealth, yes, there
Uh,
were a lot of those events where it's like we would take them out to like Phillies games, events going on around here. It's like we would take them out. So it's very interesting. It's like before we would take them out, but now they take
yeah.
us out because I'm on a different part of the
It's
company.
because like you guys are now providing like they want to hear your value and your insights into like
Yeah,
whatever portfolios that they have. So they're like, hey, they want to treat you guys
exactly.
nice, so you guys can like provide like the insights or whatever they need.
Yeah, and also they want us to hold their mutual fund. So let's say it's like a BlackRock mutual fund. It's like BlackRock can have their mutual fund of like their basket of stocks and all that. But like if nobody is holding it, or it's not going to any clients, not any portfolios, then BlackRock is going to make zero money. So BlackRock wants like to communicate with like my bank, because it's like if we get along, whatever, we hold their fund on our platform. So then our clients, our high net worth clients, again, kind of confusing, but are the high net worth clients, they have portfolios, right? They're going to have like, they have $2 million. They're going to have in 60-40, like 60% stocks, 40% bonds. They're going to hold that BlackRock fund. So they're going to pay a fee, and BlackRock's going to get money.
But then the actual equities, it's on your bank's balance sheet, not on BlackRock's.
Uh, yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, that makes
Essentially.
sense to me now. So your clients now, you're
Yeah.
being treated out by BlackRock and stuff, not the high net worth individuals,
Mhm.
right? It's a little different.
Yeah,
Ah, okay,
exactly.
okay. That's why I was getting
Yep.
a little confused. I was like, wait, what high net worth person is treating you out? Like, I was trying, like, I guess they'll pay you for insights, but at the same time, like, aren't they
Mhm.
like, aren't they still your clients at the end of the day? But it may,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, I'm actually surprised you got
yeah.
that. It's confusing to
I mean,
explain,
I,
but
I I
yeah,
hope I got it. I
exactly.
worked in investment banking, so
See, I knew you would get it. It's like with other people, I'm like, yeah, I just do investment consulting, and usually it just turns them off and they don't ask any more questions.
I mean, we're here to clear it up. Okay, well, all right. So
Exactly.
part of this podcast is to talk about like kind of like the no BS truth of like these like I guess like I
Hmm.
hate this word, but like high paying careers, right? But what does a day to day of this job
Yeah.
actually look like? Like what are you actually doing on a day to day basis?
Good question. So in my current role, uh, the fiscal quarters, right? Like quarter one, two, three, four. So my team is in charge of running like the due diligence process on all of our funds for each quarter. So it's like performance numbers. So the month after quarter end. So essentially April, yeah, April, because quarter one is from January
Yeah.
to March. So April, it's like we do have an entire process where it's like we're all working a shit ton of hours, trying to get this done, and not just performance, but like talking with the managers, seeing what they think about their numbers, about their thoughts on the market. So that's a huge component of the job. It's running this quarter end
Mm.
process. Otherwise, it's like currently involved with like a search process where we're searching for like a mid. Shouldn't be saying that. Where we search for like a specific like manager, right? We're looking for a specific style. Like maybe we want like a large cap stock, a large cap mutual fund. So we're gonna look for these clients, and they're gonna all pitch to us. So that's like a search
Mm-hmm.
process, and then also it's a lot of, honestly, it is a lot of bullshit. It's a lot of just it's a no bullshit. It
Tell me
is like
about it.
some
Tell me
some
about it.
days like
What are some bullshit parts of the job? Let's get to the nitty gritty.
um well, I think as a junior, you're forced to take notes a lot, and it's a good thing to take notes. It's like you're helping alleviate like some of these like more mundane tasks from the
Yeah.
higher ups, like the VPs, so that they can focus on more important tasks. But you're just sitting there in meetings, fucking taking notes. You don't even know what you're writing. Then you go and revise them. Then you go
And you don't even know what you
upload them
wrote.
to
You
a
just wrote down a bunch
system.
of things that none of it makes sense.
You I know what I wrote usually, but yeah, there are definitely times where I just like write stuff down because it's like people want to see it. But that's it. And then also like I even in college, it's like you in college you learn all this
Yeah.
information, right? You learn, but then here it's like I just Google or I ask someone higher up like my
Yeah.
questions. I don't actually rely on anything I learned in
Yeah.
college, which is actually like crazy. I mean, I feel like it's a waste of an education in a way because you need a college education to get into this current job, but like I think in college I heard like 90%. No, when you start your full time job in finance, you learn 90% on the job and 10% from college. And I'm like,
I mean,
yeah,
because 9% of a finance job is just following procedures on how to do things, right? Like
exactly. Yeah, that's the
you don't
thing.
need to calculate the coupon rate for a bond, right? They don't like number one, the rate's given to you. Number two, like you're not even a team that does that, right? Like the most important job is
Exactly.
most finance job is being able to follow procedures, process notes,
Hmm.
and make sure things look nice. Make sure the numbers look nice, right? It's a
Yeah.
lot of like just like step by step process and working in Excel, working in
Yep.
PowerPoint. But
Yep.
yeah, you do need to know like how everything ties together. Like you need to know what bond is, you need to know what coupon rate is. But it's like, I mean, fuck, I mean these things you can Google it, right? And it's just like super
Yeah.
unfortunate that like all these jobs you do need a college degree for it, and it's like
Exactly.
but
I agree.
it's how the system works, right? I mean, I don't know about you. I enjoy my time in college, so I'm not even complaining about it. But
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I know what you mean. It's like I liked college. I went to college because I didn't know like what else. There were no other options, especially being
yeah,
like
I'm
an
gonna say
Indian
we're
guy
Asian
with
too.
Asian
It's not much of
parents.
a
Like,
choice there. You're going to
yeah, it's
college,
like
you know.
no, yeah, you're going to college or you're moving
Yeah,
back to
or you're
India.
a failure
I
in
don't
life. All right, like
know.
what are you talking
Yeah,
about? You're going to
exactly.
college.
Yeah, it's like, and then now, I guess if we had TikTok, imagine if we had TikTok
Yeah.
back then, like in college, it's like I would have, I don't know, maybe if I'd gotten into like content creation or anything like
Mm.
I'm doing now, but it's like finding my passion. It's like I didn't have a passion in college, honestly. I was like just doing work, trying to get a good GPA, trying to get an investment banking job, trying to make money, trying to like get an investment banking job to make money. I didn't even end up getting a IB
Mm.
job. I got this job and making money again, but like there was no deeper value to that. And so that's why it's like college. Like, yeah, I looking back, like I was happy with my experience. Like, I'm glad I have a degree, but if I could go back and with the knowledge I have now, oh, I would not go to
Really?
college. There's so many other opportunities out there.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually don't think I'd go. Yeah, if I had everything I had now, if AI was a thing, if AI was a thing, if what I'm saying, TikTok, like all these ways of learning, if I knew my passion already, like my passion is now not
Mhm.
finance.
What are you passionate
So
about?
I would not have gone to college. Passionate about self improvement, personal branding, and mental
Mm.
health. that's like truly like my passion. It's like impacting people's lives. And you can do that in finance, but I feel like I can have a more direct impact through what I do with content creation and my
So
business
let's talk a little bit
on
about
the side.
like your content then. So with your content, you talk a lot about like personal finance, that's not personal finance, personal development, obviously like career content as well, and just like overall like
Mm-hmm.
balancing life in corporate with ADHD, right? You have
Yeah,
ADHD. uh,
I do.
so
Yes, yes,
why did you talk about how that process went down? Like how did you get diagnosed with it,
of
and like
course.
what was that whole experience of
Mm-hmm.
what was like learning about ADHD?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you do have ADHD, you'll realize that there's a lot of people in finance who have ADHD. So it's
There's a
very
lot of
common.
Adderall going on. A lot of
So
Adderall in finance.
yes, yes, yes. The thing, and that's part of the myth that I'm gonna like break down. So okay, in college, like I always had trouble focusing and with
Yeah.
impulsivity, but I never thought beyond that. I was like, okay, whatever, it's just me. But then I realized all my friends had ADHD, and one day my friend was like, oh, I was she's like, I wouldn't be surprised if you had ADHD too. And I was like, whatever. I'll tell my doctor about it. My doctor was like, oh no, you're just overweight and your vitamin D levels are low. He just told me that. And I was like, okay, I guess that's the issue. So that's why I
Hmm.
can't focus or that's why I can't function. But then the pandemic hit essentially in 2021 and I had a lot of trouble focusing at my job. I was in the wealth management part of the company at this point, like private wealth. So I also wasn't passionate about what I was doing. And this was like 6 months into my first job, complete lockdown, not going into the office, work from home 100%.
2020.
Like, didn't know who anyone wants to work. Yeah, oh my God. No, 2021.
Oh,
2021, early
yeah.
2021. Yeah. The worst part was like, that was the winter, right? So it's like, when the winter hit, it's like we were all like forced to like lockdown and getting dark at 5 p.m. But essentially, I was at a point where it's like, I'm going to lose my job if I don't figure out my mental
Mm,
health. That's the point I got to. And I had to figure something out. I was like, I had already been diagnosed with like depression and anxiety. And I was like, okay, well, this is something like more than that. And then I was like, I was seeing a therapist at the time and ended up talking about ADHD with him and went through the process of like, I got a doctor here, then I got a referral to a psychiatrist. And then I took like a symptoms checklist like from the psychiatrist and I had like 18 out of 20 of the symptoms. And then I got prescribed Adderall. Yeah, I got prescribed Adderall after that, and it was actually a very rough like diagnosis process. And this
hmm.
is why I'm trying to like bust the whole myth of like, oh, Adderall, like ADHD equals Adderall. It's because it doesn't. It's like it's a lot more
Okay.
than that. And the finance bros who take Adderall will not admit to it, but if you ask them more about it, they'll be like, yeah, Adderall actually makes me not want to eat at all. It causes a lot of bad side effects. But they still take it because they don't see any other way to help them focus or like in that respect. But it's so much more than just Adderall, and that's what I've realized. It's like, and that's why I make content about like personal development because I had to change the way I like live, like my entire lifestyle, and like build these routines and systems in place to allow me to be successful, like or just function at my corporate job, working from home, even going into the office. And that's a huge part where it's like it's especially in investment banking and other high stress jobs. Like you can easily like wake up at like 8 a.m. and work the entire day until 12 a.m. and not move from your like desk at all. Is that healthy? No. Is that bad for your mental health?
Probably.
Yes. But like you'll still do it because it's like you're making money and it's like you feel like you need to do it. But having like a routine in place, like I found that to be extremely like helpful for me, and it was hard. Like it was hard building that
Hmm.
routine for a while, and that's where I used like TikTok at first, now Instagram, to like document the process of me learning to create a routine while working my job. Tends to be like an 8 to 6:30 job, like having stuff in place throughout the day to help me manage my ADHD, anxiety,
Hmm.
depression, and like physical health as well.
Oh
So
man, so many
yeah.
things to unpack there. I wanna
I
talk about the
know.
routines as well, but before we get there, I want to kind of go back to ADHD and kind of like mental health. Like you said something very
Mhm.
interesting there, which I don't think I heard before. But how does those two things tie together, ADHD and mental health?
Oh yeah. So ADHD. So mental health is like the big umbrella. ADHD is one part of the
Yeah,
umbrella. So ADHD is technically a mental illness. It's technically this disability,
yeah.
technically by like definition. So ADHD, anxiety, depression all fall under mental health. And that's where it's like when a lot of people you're like, oh, ADHD is just trouble focusing, and it's like it's just an excuse to get Adderall. It's not. It's a lot more than that. It's like ADHD impacts the way you function. Impacts the way you
Hmm.
work. Like in the office, for instance, like I go in twice a week now. I can't get anything done unless I have noise canceling headphones on, because it's like I will overhear side conversations. I will just hear stuff and I'll get distracted. I'll see people walking by. So I need to have like noise canceling headphones on, and it's like literally it's so bad. It's like I get nothing done, and like even another example is like meetings, like having meetings all throughout your day. Like if you have a meeting at like 8 a.m., then a meeting at 11 a.m., then a meeting at 3 p.m. Yeah, I'm getting nothing done that day until
Right.
5. Like I'm gonna have to go home and work because I can't get anything done. Because it's like you're in and out of focus, and it's not just focus, but even like with meetings, like it impacts so much more than people think. Like ADHD, and a lot of guys get diagnosed and they're like 8 or 9
Yeah.
years old, and it's like they start Adderall then, and they have a terrible experience on it because it caused them like an eating disorder, it caused them a lot of like issues like that, or
What
heart
does
issues. But
ADHD cause? Okay, I'm so uneducated on this. Does ADHD lead to depression ever, or just do
um,
at all
so it
correlated?
first off, I just have to say like I'm not a professional. This is all from
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
personal
yeah.
experience and
Totally not
knowledge. But
professional.
yeah, yeah,
See,
but
see a therapist, everyone. All right, this is
good.
totally not professional. We're just two
Yeah,
dudes chatting.
yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So it's there's possible for it to be like a comorbidity, which means like ADHD can lead to depression, it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to OCD. It's possible for that. And for me, I found it to be the case. Like it was leading to my anxiety. It was leading to my depression. But that's not always the case. You can have them separately, like depression, anxiety, ADHD. Yeah.
I see. I see. So, what have you learned about
Oh,
ADHD that the general public probably doesn't know about, who don't have ADHD? Like, what's something not, because when people think about ADHD, they think about kind of what you described, someone that can't focus, right? But if anything, I've been hearing that
yeah.
people with ADHD, if they're doing something that's highly something that I guess like it's very they want to do, they can get even more focused than most
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
what's that all about?
So that's a good point. Yeah. So I'll talk about the positives, because there are positives of having like ADHD, and it's creativity. Like really good at brainstorming ideas in meetings and anything. Like you're constantly like a flow of ideas. So it's perfect for that. Uh, Hyper focus is what you're
Hyper
referring to, and
focused.
that's like the ability. Yeah, it's the ability to just like get like 4 hours of work done in like 1 hour, because you're simply just like you're just like on like
How
rapid
does that
speed. And
happen?
it sounds like it's okay, it's very difficult to like get into that mode, and that's why a lot of people take Adderall or they take any medication, because it helps you get into that mode. But personally, it's like for me, and this is actually really good advice for any college kid out there, like wanting to improve their focus, get a pair of noise canceling headphones, play brown noise, white noise, or any lo-fi beats, and you essentially tune out the world, and you just like, especially with Excel, I've done this so many times. You just like you focus on the one thing. You only have that one project up, and you make so much progress. And the bad thing is that the next thing you know it'll be 4 hours later, and you'll be hungry, you'll be thirsty, you'll be tired, but you won't even notice that it's been 4 hours, because you've just been like nonstop focusing on this.
Mhm.
So it sounds like a superpower. It's not exactly a superpower, but that is one of the benefits of some people who have like ADHD. Other things like it helps. I would say it helps in corporate. No, it kind of sucks having ADHD in corporate, but it does help sometimes. Like, because I guess compassionate and like empathy, like people with ADHD tend to be like more
Mhm.
empathetic, and they care more about their work. Also, a big thing is like people with ADHD will work 10 times harder to achieve the same results as someone without it.
Oh.
So you'll see a lot of people with ADHD tend to overwork themselves to burn out. And it's like people already do that without it, but it's like ADHD, especially because what I told you about, like if I have 4 meetings throughout the day, it's structured like that, I'm getting nothing done throughout the day. I'm just gonna stare at a screen and do random shit on my phone. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to do work in the night. So that's how like negatively impacts you. So there's positives and negatives, but yeah, it's definitely a thing which like it's it's been blown out of proportion for people to believe it's like, oh, it's just an issue with focusing and it's just an excuse for Adderall on social media, on TikTok, the way people talk about it. But it's a lot more than that.
Man, I should go get myself checked out. Then you're seeing a lot of things that resonate with me. But on that note, like how does
You never know. Yeah.
what are some telltale signs that you may have ADHD?
I don't want to get into that just because again, I'm not a professional.
What
So I'm
what what
not,
are signs
yeah,
that
I'm
you
not,
saw in yourself, like
mm,
personally, then
uh,
that may be like maybe there's something up here.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay. So a few things were like uh constantly fidgeting, like inability to sit still
Mm-hmm.
ever. Second would be trouble focusing, but not in the way where it's like just focus. It's like constantly starting different projects but never finishing any of the projects. So you reach the end of the day and it's like, oh, I started all five of my tasks, but I didn't finish a single one of them. Like that. A lot of other, and then this is where like comorbidity comes into play. It's like for me, I found a lot of like my issues with eating, like binge eating, came from like stem from ADHD because I had trouble like controlling my impulses and controlling my
Mm.
urges, and like with drinking, smoking, a lot of that excessive use of that because like I didn't even know I had ADHD, but it's like it just naturally, like me, I'm just talking with my hands like this,
Mm-hmm.
like stuff like that, and people notice it like in my videos too. They'll be like, I'll just like constantly be like moving. Like I won't be able to sit still like this and just
Mm-hmm.
talk. I'll have to like move in some sort of way, like do this or whatever. But again, these are all like very like they sound very vague, and people are gonna sit there being like, I have ADHD. It's not the case necessarily. You have to go to a professional to actually see if you have it. Um, yeah,
Yeah, go to the professional end of the day to see if there's
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I watched your content, right? And I saw something in content that kind of confused me. And then because you say this a lot, but you keep talking about how in the morning you have a morning routine in which you chase dopamine. What does that mean? Isn't that
Mm-hmm.
negative? Shouldn't you not chase dopamine so early in your day so that like you're not just overloaded with stimulation? Like, what do you mean by chasing dopamine?
Interesting. Okay, so I don't know if I say chase dopamine, but like dopamine focused routine,
Yes.
and that's because like yeah, yeah. So with ADHD, we have tend to have irregular levels of dopamine in our brain, which impacts like focus and impacts our memory. And impacts a lot of other things like your mood. So when I say dopamine focused routine, it's like aimed at increasing those levels that are naturally low. So that's why like I preach the high protein breakfasts in the morning, going on walks in the morning, and these are all good exercises. These are good activities, like habits to have, regardless of if you have ADHD or not. But for me, it's like if I did this so many days, so I can't even like lie. Like getting out of bed at 8 a.m., no, 7:58 a.m. for an 8 a.m. meeting, like coming right to my desk. It's like, I mean, yeah, sure, I show up for the meeting, but then it's like I don't feel great the rest of the day. And so that's when I mean by like increasing dopamine levels naturally. It's like through doing like some of these like lifestyle habits. And my main thing lately has been cold showers.
Mm.
I do those like religiously. But yeah, hopefully that clears it
Yeah.
up.
What has been some of the most helpful, I guess, like self improvement routines that you have discovered that have been beneficial to you?
Yeah. So I it's a struggle like implementing different habits into your lifestyle, but that's essentially how I came up with like my current personal brand, the Kunal Lifestyle. And it's 6 things in the morning, 5 or 6 things in the morning. So uh, first is like making your bed. Second is like going on a 10-minute walk outside within 30 minutes of waking up. Third is like eating a high protein breakfast of like 20 to 25 grams of protein. I take a cold shower, but taking a hot shower and turning it to cold for the last like 10 seconds, and then writing like on a sticky note, writing like a to do list on one side, and a brain dump on one side, and like a priority list on the other side to help you like prioritize and like start your day. So yeah, those are some of the things I like do personally that help a lot. And then also in the evenings, working out is a way to naturally balance your like neurotransmitters and like improve your
Yeah.
mood. Um, Yeah.
I have a to-do list as well. I find it like very helpful. Like every day, I don't do this every
Yeah.
day, but I try to like every day before I go to bed, I write down what I need to do for the next day. I don't know if you do the same thing or not.
Hmm.
I just find it very helpful
That's
in
perfect.
terms of
Yeah.
like when I wake up
Hmm.
next day, I have like less anxiety of like what I need to be doing. It allows me to just like start
Yeah.
my day and focus a lot more. I actually go to the extent in which I split my days into like here are my tasks for morning and here are my tasks for afternoon. Like I feel like that's
Oh,
been
it's
pretty
great.
helpful to me. Yeah, like I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of to do lists because in the past like I will have like no to do list and I'll wake up and I'll just like
Hmm.
I kind of like like hang around for like an hour. I'm just like oh crap I need to do something. I'm like oh what do I need to do? And if like all these things I need to do, I get overwhelmed and I just go onto YouTube. Yeah,
Exactly. No, it's really good. That's like having like a morning, like especially doing it the night before. A lot of these like successful entrepreneurs suggest that, and I do that too. It's like, like the night before, it's like, what do you want to get done the
yeah.
next day? And it's like so that when you wake up, it's like, all right. And especially like for you, it's like not having like a corporate job and like the structure, which I'm personally gonna really miss and trying to like my anxiety is trying to get me to like have some sort of structure without my job, even though I still have
Hmm.
it. That's an important part, like kind of structuring your day with like to-do lists and
Yeah,
tasks.
yeah. Well, before we get into that, I got one more question for you in terms of like self improvement. What are some self
Of course.
improvement, I guess, like strategies, tactics, routines that you found to just be completely, for lack of better word, horse shit?
Good question. The 5 a.m. morning
Yeah,
routine.
like what?
I absolutely cannot stand the 5 a.m. morning routine. The 5 to 9 a.m.s that people just like, it's my 5 to 9 before my 9 to 5. Like, no. Like, you are, I absolutely can't stand it. It's like, it's so unrealistic. They'll wake up at 5 a.m. and what the fucking sit there and like journal for an hour? Like, what? They'll meditate and then pretend like they're so productive. And I'm like, you just woke up at 5 to do nothing. And now you're exhausted by 9 a.m. So you're going to take a nap at 10
Yeah,
a.m. And how do I know that? Because I did it myself. I tried the 5 a.m. morning routine back in like August 2020 and I was starting my job. I was like, oh, I was convinced that waking up at 5 a.m. was the only way to be successful in the corporate world or just in life. So I was like, okay, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every single day and work out in the morning and do all this stuff. Oh my God. I was like taking naps like 10 a.m.
yeah,
for like an hour. I'm not even joking. It's like I would take it, obviously not during my meetings, but I was so exhausted the entire day. And I'm like, I can't keep doing this. How do people do this? And that's where I was like, all right, I need to find a more like realistic approach to self improvement that actually works for me and doesn't like, I'm not just like trying to fit. I'm not trying to like fit into someone else's routine. I like create my own routine with like
I
habits.
think it's something we all learn as we get older, right? It's like we consume all stuff
Yeah.
online. You try it, and then you see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, then
Mm-hmm.
like there's a certain point where just like this isn't for me, right? And it's like it's always that thin
Yep.
line between like is it not working because it doesn't work for me, or am I just lazy? Right? Which one is it? Right? And it takes
Yeah.
a lot of self awareness to recognize the difference between the two. For example, kind of similar to
Mm-hmm.
you, I used to try to wake up at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. But I didn't even bother at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was like, I'm not even going to bother at 5 a.m. All right. That was like out of the world for me. But
Too
even
hard.
7 a.m., I'm going to be honest with you, like it's kind of hard for me because I sleep at around like, I try to go to bed at 12 every day. And if I wake up at 7, that's like 7 hours
Yeah.
of sleep. So I end up taking a nap in
Yeah.
the afternoon anyways. But I realized that like, I can't do 7, but I can do 8 a.m. 8 a.m. works well for me. I
Yeah.
don't take a nap in the afternoon because I mean,
Right.
I work at night, right? Like I don't mind working from 8 to like
Right.
12. Not that productive, but I'm still working from 8 to 12. So just like, well, I just push back my day more. I don't end my day by 5 p.m., but I just start my day a little bit quote
Yep.
unquote later than most people and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
That's perfectly fine too. It's like finding what works for
it's all
you.
about just finding
Yeah,
what
that's
works for
actually
you. End of the
perfect.
day, it really is all about that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you don't.
Yeah. And I have some people who are like on the more creative side where they will stay up until like 2 a.m. because that's when they're most creative. Like
Yeah,
that
I
gives them
don't
most
get
energy
that.
then. So they'll stay up until
I
I
don't
don't
get
either. I get
that.
really tired. I try and do it, but I get
Yeah,
really tired and get nothing done. But some people are like that. They're night owls. Like they will actually from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. That's when they work best. And like they'll do that and then they'll wake up at like 10 a.m. And it's like if it works for you, it works
more
for you.
power
Like,
to.
yeah,
When are you the most
exactly.
creative?
Yeah, I've actually been trying to figure that out myself. Uh, for me, it tends to be like I'm not creative at any point in the day. I have to do certain things to help me be creative. For instance, like going to the gym. Like when I go to the gym, when I come back, yeah, I feel
Hmm.
creative. When I take a cold shower, I feel creative
Mm,
after that. When I go for a walk, I feel creative after that. So for me, it's not like a specific point in the day. I've tried to figure this out. It's like it'll hit me at random bursts. It's like maybe early morning is the time when I'm most creative, but there's no way in hell I'm waking up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I wake up at 7 a.m. mostly, and it's also because of my job. Waking up at 7, but I'm fine with 7. Like seven's good for me, but 7 to 8 is like the sweet spot, and just wake for me. It's like more so based around like the habits I do. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, as I know it, you're leaving your job in a couple months to now pursue your own thing. How That's
yep,
scary. That's scary, huh?
yeah,
So
terrified.
what's your plan after you leave your current job right now? Let's talk a little about that.
Yeah, yeah. So it will be been about 3 years. It's a mutual agreement. I'm going to leave the company, and it was difficult to make the decision to what to do next because mutual decision to leave. It's like I could have chased another finance job. I could have chased working at a startup, or I could have gone full time on my business. And at this point, like especially after VidCon and that Stan event, started thinking of my social media accounts as a business, and because it truly is a business, and having a personal brand. So I've been doing this for 2 years now. I realized like while having my full time job, like my finance job, I've been doing this on the side for 2 years now, and it's like I get the most passion, the most energy doing this. And I was like, I feel like this is like a sign. My lease is also ending in
Mm.
September. The job ends in August, so it's like kind of like perfect timing. And I was like, I think I'm 24, and I was like, oh, I'll be 25, and I'm like, quarter life crisis. Sorry, perfect. This is the perfect time to just try something new and like go fully all in and commit 100% to this. So yeah, I'm going full on my business, and it's been a lot of like thinking about what to do because again, my salary like will rely on this. Like on, it's not just like a side gig anymore. It's like I have to make money in order to live. So yeah, I've highly considered that. I don't like purely content creation. Some people go that avenue where it's like you're just doing brand deals and sponsorships. And personally, I get burnt out doing that. I don't like making content for other
Mm.
companies. I like making content for myself. So I'm not exactly going that brand partnership route. I'm going the digital products route. I have like 3 or 4 ideas in mind for like and that I'm building out as like revenue streams. So digital products, it's like I talk a lot about like self improvements, like a self improvement handbook, a high protein meal like recipe book, a like Q&A like with AI. It's so easy. Like it's not easy. It's like it's
It
makes it
helps.
easier to make these kind of like yeah, it helps a lot with making these guides. So that and I feel like that's and then using videos to promote those like to promote those products. I think that's like the way to go. Then also like public speaking. That's been a big thing lately. I spoke to a school in person for the first time like last month, I think, and I wanted to start doing that more often because I feel like you actually feel the impact of your work when you go and talk to a school versus talking virtually to an
Mm.
audience. So building that out, and yeah, schools, universities, hopefully gonna speak at some conventions, and I also talk about like ADHD and corporate life too at some companies. So that's a goal, and then also like uh, what else? Affiliates, obviously, like
Yeah.
that's just saying brand deals. I still will do some brand deals. Like again, in this current economy, I feel like freelancing has taken a huge hit. The freelancing economy has taken a huge hit because all these companies are cutting their budgets and they don't want to like yeah, they're just realizing that they want to invest the resources elsewhere. But then last thing would be coaching, and that's something that I still have to build out, still have to think about. But yeah, looking into like one-on-one coaching and just hope like creating more of a sense of
Yeah.
community. But
Yeah.
yeah, right now that's like like where I'm headed. I guess after I don't have a stable paycheck from my finance job
So it's
anymore.
like a personal help, personal development brand that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be offering
Yep.
like product and services under that. You call it the Kunal lifestyle, right? And that's like a whole
Yep.
package of just like dieting, exercise, mindset, kind of like this whole framework of how you want to view life and how you're viewing life and trying to like pass
Yes.
this on to like the younger generation is what I'm assuming, right?
Right. So that's mostly correct, but actually, surprisingly, a lot of people older than me follow me, especially on
Oh, okay.
Instagram. A lot of people in their 30s, 40s follow like me, and it's like again, I feel like the imposter syndrome, but then it's like maybe they just never knew about like how their mental health is impacting them, and that's one thing I like. So it's a self improvement brand, yes, and it's focused on like it's kind of crazy. It's like I made a decision to like make this a complete personal brand and just talk about like these habits I do, but there's like scientific backed evidence behind every single thing that I do. I don't just spew bullshit on the internet. So it's all scientifically backed and it's all like kind of related. I show them the impact of like how it affects your life, and basically it's I'm the example that I use. It's like, okay, I never used to eat a breakfast for 5 years in college, and I had disordered eating. Then I started eating a high protein breakfast, and I ate it for the last 8 months, and it's helped me do this, this, and this. And people see that, and they see me constantly saying and how passionate I am talking about it, and then they try it for themselves. So in a way, it's like that, and that's why like. And you're saying it's broad, and I'm like, yeah, I had to have it broad because I struggled a lot with, I think, what you mentioned earlier, and when we talked about like having too narrow of a niche or like getting bored of it essentially. And I got bored so many times throughout my content creation journey until like now where it's like I actually feel like energy to make videos because I know it's like not just making videos, it's like it has more of an impact and it's like kind of like a accountability tool for my self-improvement journey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely think that's like it's like just having like an older audience too. What I come to learn is that like sometimes like it could be your energy too, right? Like it doesn't have to be like they're like, all right, they probably know more about like life than you do, but they're like, but I really like this guy's energy. Like for example, on TikTok, like I follow up. I mean, naturally TikTok has a huge younger demographic, but I end up following a lot of people younger than me and just taking like,
Yeah.
tips, pointers here and there. It doesn't necessarily mean like, I'm like, oh yeah, to live my life. But it's like, hey, this person that's younger than me has figured out something earlier than I have. And I think that's like very inspiring, very interesting to look at. And it's like, especially like, I mean, kind of going back to the whole thing of like TikTok, AI, and all the stuff not existing in the past, like it's kind of insane looking at the
Yeah.
younger generation, seeing like how much knowledge they can just get from the internet nowadays by the time they're like 18. And
I
just
know.
like, I'm like, dude, I look at some of these kids, I'm like, dude, you're doing this when you're 18. You know what I was doing when I was 18? All right. I was trying to hit platinum in League of Legends. Okay, that's what I was trying to.
Oh my
All right,
god.
like
I
when I
played
was
League
18.
too.
All right, I was like, how can I win this bot lane with Graves ADC? All right, I was not thinking about like building a business, building a brand, even getting to investment banking. Okay, I have my
Dad.
placements tomorrow. I got hit plat 2. Okay, I'm plat 3 right now. I better win 3 out of these 5 games.
Dude, I feel you. I was playing my Wukong top trying to beat these Gare. Ari mid. I also just trolled bot lane, dude. I played support and just trolled. I play like Ari bot, or I play
No way,
like
you're the guy I hated.
I go duo ADC. Yeah,
Oh,
people
you're the guy
hate
I
me.
hated.
Yep, I guess yep, because you were
Yeah,
actually
who'd you main? What was your main in League?
I went through phases, but like I guess my best was Vi jungle or Ari mid.
I see, I see.
Wukong top was Wukong top was
Yeah.
an
Well, Wook on
experience.
top is a solid choice.
Um,
It's a very good laner. Yeah,
Yeah, but no. Sorry, what you were saying, I agree, and it's like I'm glad you have. It's a really good perspective you have actually. I never realized that like you might follow people younger than you because of like their energy or like that. And it's like I never. I guess when I was in college, used to be like, oh wow, this person's older than me, this person's younger than me. But now that I'm like a few years out of college, it's like. All right, well, they had resources that I never
yeah,
had. Like my stepbrother is like 19 years old. He knows way more about AI and tech because and like crypto and all that because he's constantly like that's what he likes to do. And I'm like, I can learn a lot from you, but seriously, we can learn so much from the younger generation. It's kind of cool saying that, and that's how these other people view me. I guess it's like, oh wow, he really figured all this stuff out. I haven't figured this out yet. I'm gonna follow
yeah.
him. So like that.
All right. Well, I always like to kind of wrap up my podcast down this direction, but I feel like we went through like so many different rabbit holes that we talked about from career to ADHD
Typical
to
me.
like self
Yeah.
improvement. But I guess like I always like to ask this question just to kind of wrap up the podcast, which is like, what advice would you give to like your own personal 18-year-old self? Like today, for some weird reason, you're able to time travel back and then meet your 18-year-old self. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
would you tell him?
Mm. It's a great question, and give me like a minute
No,
to think
take your
about
time.
that because I want to give some solid advice. Um, all right, so yeah, so some pieces of advice I'd give my 18-year-old self are First, that rejection is just redirection. We tend to get really down on ourselves when we don't get into the workshop, or we don't get into this club, or we don't get into this college, or get rejected from 100 investment banks. But it's really not about you. It's about the fit. It's about you fitting in, and the company or that organization fitting your wants. So instead of focusing so much on like trying to get into an organization or trying to get into a company just because it's prestigious and you make the most money, think about whether you actually want to be at that company. Like, do you actually want to be at Goldman, or do you just like the idea of being at Goldman? And yeah, I'm telling you that. I really wish I knew that earlier, because there's so much, especially in investment banking, especially in finance more generally. There's we focus so much on like the tangible, like how much, what's your base, what's your bonus, what are your hours, and it's like a flex, working longer hours and being more burnt out, or being able to handle the burnout better than others. And there's so much more to that, where you may regret that 10 years down the road. You may have wanted to focus more on your health and lifestyle and wish you started earlier. So I guess the second thing I'd say is it's never too late to start anything. I had the worst routine in college. In fact, I had no routine. I would just drink every weekend and then go to my classes and then drink after my classes. And it was a terrible routine. And then after I graduated, it was a wake-up call when I started my corporate job. Like, all right, you need to have a routine so that when you're 40, 50 years old, you don't look back on your 20s and be like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, why do I have all these like physical, why am I obese? Why do I have all these like issues? It's because I never figured it out, and I was never self-aware enough to figure that out. So that, and then lastly, it's like in college, and especially even when you, that transition period from graduating college to starting your corporate job, or any job, it's hard on you mentally. And you're probably going to struggle with your mental health at some point from 18 to 24. And that's completely normal. It's okay. It's okay not to be okay. And we don't talk about it enough, especially as men in finance, but it really is okay not to be okay. And finding friends, a support system, and a therapist who you can talk to about this is important. So vulnerability is
strength. I really like what you said there about like rejection is redirection. I mean, you said many things, but like that one really caught my ear, because if I share just a little bit of my personal story, in my junior year, I really wanted to get into this internship. It was an internship at Intel. It was like this like engineering, like it was this business internship, but you need to be an engineering major, specifically electrical engineering major, to get into like this business analyst role. And I was like, this is perfect for me, right? I'm an engineering major. I want to do business. It's a great company, like big company and stuff. I was like, I need to get this internship. I never got it. I didn't get it.
Right.
But because I didn't get it, I ended up doing investment banking, which was kind of funny. I mean, it kind of came out of rage, to be honest. I was like, all right, if I can't get into this stupid job, I'm just going to go for banking instead. And it kind of worked out that way. But
it worked out though. now you're helping a lot of other people like break into IB. But yeah, it's crazy, because I think we always like, exactly in your position. It's like we think so much about like, we want this job so badly, but like, what do you really want? And for me, I was always looking at like
accolades,
so I was looking
prestige,
at like the perks. I was the perks, like, oh, they get this and that. I'm like, there's more depth to it, and you don't realize it until you graduate. Because in college, like, you're gonna compare it in junior year internships. You compare your experience, you compare your hourly rate, you compare everything like that. It's like and then once you like graduate, you're like, oh, this really doesn't mean shit. It's like, I mean, it really doesn't mean shit. Like when you compare it to everyone else, it's like, are you actually happy doing what you're doing?
Wise words. Man, that's such a wise way to end it. All right, Kunal, plug your socials, man. Where can people find you?
Of course, man. So right now, Instagram and TikTok, TheKunalLifestyle. You'll put it down there below. And then also, I've been posting a lot more on LinkedIn lately. Made that a goal of mine in 2023, posting twice a week on LinkedIn about mental health and finance and corporate life. So yeah, follow me on LinkedIn too.
All right, Kunal, you got it. I'll have all your socials posted in comments. But thanks for coming out. We'll talk real soon then.
Of course, Andrew. Thanks, man, for having me, and have a great day.